Welcome to the Growth Shift. I'm David Zilstra. Here's what I've learned after years in business. Every leader who's built something meaningful has a story, but the moment they had to shift, when failure forced innovation, when change became opportunity, when they chose growth over comfort. On this show, we dive into those pivotal moments, the setbacks that became breakthroughs, the strategic shifts that accelerated growth, and the frameworks that turned obstacles into opportunities. Because here's the truth. In a world where change is the only constant, the leaders who thrive aren't the ones who avoid failure. They're the ones who've learned to shift strategically through it. So whether you're facing your own pivot point or just want to learn from someone who's been there, you're in the right place. Let's dive in. This episode is brought to you by Valentix. At Valentix, we help B2B coaches and consultants who are struggling with generating consistent, high-quality leads, automating their client onboarding processes, and scaling their operations without simply adding more hours or headcount. Most of the time, our clients come to us frustrated because they're bogged down in manual tasks and feel like they're missing out on the power of modern technology. But with the right strategy and AI-powered solutions, they're able to streamline their workflows, attract better opportunities, and achieve sustainable growth. If that sounds like you or someone you know, learn more at valentix.io. Now let's dive into today's episode. Today on the Growth Shift, we're thrilled to welcome Mark Bittle, the visionary founder of ConnectionMark. Mark's journey is a powerful narrative of resilience and purpose, having navigated significant career shifts from competitive soccer and the insurance industry to excelling in the mortgage sector before the '08 financial crisis spurred a profound redirection. Now through ConnectionMark, he dedicates his expertise to helping individuals and businesses discover and leverage their unique strengths, fostering authentic growth and efficiency. Mark's philosophy centers on developing the person to inevitably grow the business, integrating all 8 pillars of a company for holistic success. His insights into authenticity, strategic adaptation, and the human element of business make him an invaluable guide for our audience. Mark, welcome to the Growth Shift.
David, it's so great to be here. Thank you for having me.
It's great to have you here, Mark. Now, your path has taken you through a pretty diverse and highly competitive environments, right? From being a 5-year state champion in soccer to excelling in the insurance and mortgage industries. Share a little bit more about your background and your journey. How have these varied experiences, particularly the lessons learned in competitive sports and navigating different business landscapes, shape your understanding of personal development and professional success, which led you to where you are today?
Yeah, it's so funny. As a business owner, you don't get the opportunity often to talk about where you began. I started playing soccer when I was 6 years old, but became a soccer referee when I was 12 years old, started coaching when I was 14 years old, and made a select soccer team that would travel the country at the age of 14. As you mentioned, we won 5 consecutive state championships, and in youth sports, every other year, we were the younger team in that age group. So commitment, dedication, hard work. All of us want to be national champions. Nobody wants to go to practice. I, on the other hand, went to cross-country practice before I went to my 2-hour soccer practice. So I was running literally 9 to 11 miles a day, 5 days a week, and then playing soccer the other 2. So competition is very important to me, but it's also about the teamwork, the camaraderie. Together, everyone achieves more, and we all have a place.
Amazing. So you learned a lot through competitive sports. And how did that start to shape your success when you moved into the financial space, mortgages and insurance?
When you have a good coach and you surround yourself with good mentors, they help you develop as a person. And it truly is that character that they're able to shape and mold by implementing and suggesting routines. When I I ended up graduating high school, going to a small liberal arts college. I knew at the age of 17 that I wanted to become a psychologist and an educator and help children in lower income families. I saw a quote on the wall at a store at the local mall that said, 100 years from now, it won't matter the size of the house that I lived in, the kind of car that I drove, or the amount of money in my bank account. but the world may be different because I made a difference in the life of one child. And from that point forward, it wasn't about Mark. It was about how can Mark help others to achieve what they want to achieve. That truly is what success means and looks like for me. So it's getting to know the real person. And in the financial services industry, got licensed in life, health, accident, had my 6 and 63, became one of 200 experts in Section 105. But it was all about how can I find out more about you so that I can better prepare you for how you can help yourself down the road. So it all came together.
Yeah, it sounds like it. So, I mean, quite the journey there, right? From a young age, you learning the value of hard work, commitment, dedication, grit, of course, working on a team, but working for the benefit of others as well as yourself, and ultimately you ended up landing in financial services. The mortgage industry, I believe you had a pretty strong stint in, but this was leading up to the '08 crash. The world changed, especially the mortgage industry, pretty quickly. What made you decide after that to, not circle back around to the mortgage industry ultimately?
Yes. So I started my first mortgage bank with a business partner at the age of 24. We each put $5,000 into our business checking account, and we started to make the investment to get that mortgage bank up and running. After about 14 months, and it was probably a couple months before that, I realized that business partnerships weren't as easy as the successful business partnerships that I've witnessed. I don't think that any of them are ever easy. There's competing obligations, competing priorities. My priority was always about the people within the organization. My counterpart, his focus was on the financials. Neither one of us were wrong, David. It was just a matter of where we placed our priorities, and both of us were doing swimmingly well. I sold that mortgage bank to him and purchased my first house at 25, started a mortgage brokerage out of that house, and got involved with the local association, the Iowa Association of Mortgage Brokers. That's where I really found that I love to learn. I don't want to know just surface level information. If I'm going to learn something, I want to go deep. I want to know what the foundation is and why it exists. Why didn't I stay in the financial services? I became a national mortgage compliance expert, and I was traveling the country teaching RESPA, TILA, the fair lending laws. I was teaching ethics and business planning processes. And I spent time both at the state capitol and the national capitol trying to get our elected officials to understand what we were wanting to accomplish in enforcement of the laws that were on the books. They ended up changing the laws, and I had a problem with that because if the industry doesn't know the laws that currently exist, what makes the legislators think that they're going to learn the new laws that are passed? The problem wasn't the laws. The problems was the enforcement of making sure that people are doing what they say they are supposed to do in an industry that is supposed to be one of the most regulated. So I got a bad taste in my mouth, and I decided to leave my home state of Iowa and move to Colorado and start it all over.
Wow. So, I mean, it sounds like there was a pretty significant shift that you made, right? You fell in love with an industry that you built a company within from the ground up. But after some time within it, you realized that, it just wasn't really sitting well with you how it was being run and regulated at the end of the day. And what sort of realizations and lessons did you take away from all of that really showed you the way forwards with ConnectionMark and working with businesses to drive growth rather than, just fixing or growing individual parts of a business?
Yes. What happened? If my friends were to hear me say this, they would do a double take. I'm not much of a rule follower because I kind of beat to my own drum, but it wasn't so much the regulation, it was the lack of oversight of the regulations. And I'm a firm believer, if we're going to go play a board game, why aren't we all playing by the same rules? And when you're playing board games, you're playing with your family, you're playing with your friends. Heaven forbid you're playing with your nieces and nephews who want to change the rules. When we all play by the same rules, that's really the only way that we can compete in a level playing field. At the end of the day, we all have our own beliefs, we all have our own experiences. But when I work with clients, my first goal is what is it that you want to accomplish? And then how can I best insert myself to help them accomplish their goals, not mine? Within the realm of what their industry regulations are.
Mark, tell us then a little bit more about ConnectionMark. I mean, in your own words, what do you really help businesses and business owners do, and what is your approach to delivering that?
My first approach is asking a business owner if they believe they can become better. And if we're all being honest with ourselves, I think all of us have an opportunity to get better, including myself and including everyone that I work with. If a business owner says that they're at the top of their game, there's not much I can do as a consultant, coach, or mentor until they decide that they want to get out of their own way. I'm working with over 5,800 clients over the last 24 years. The first step is realizing who we are and who we are not. And only we can answer that for ourselves. I can't lean on you, David, and say, hey, David, where can I improve? You're going to have ideas, but I already know inherently where my strengths, weaknesses, and opportunities, threats happen. So I founded ConnectionMark with the belief that if I can help business owners get out of their own way by removing the obstacles that they have meticulously built in front of them, to start making those proactive decisions that help them make calculated risks to continue growing their businesses, that's where I want to be. And I want to meet more of those business owners.
This is really profound and really powerful, right? Because people's limiting beliefs and them being their own roadblock are some of the biggest setbacks to any individual's success, whether it's in business or in any other life pursuit. Could you perhaps share a specific story about a client engagement where you're focused on helping people get out of their own way and developing their own individual awareness led to a significant breakthrough, a transformation within or for their company?
Yes. And I'll start with me. So many people see Mark Bittle and so many people see ConnectionMark as a very successful person and a very successful organization. I'm the only one that knows the struggles that I had to go through to get here. I made my first $1 million by the time I was 30 years old. I had spent my first $1 million by the time I was 30 years old as well. It's those stories that are real that really help business owners be able to connect and allows me to build that trust with them right from the get-go. Oftentimes, it's asking the questions that no one's comfortable asking. Have you thought about not if this happens, but when this happens? What do you plan to do? Specifically, a client that I've worked with, and pull one client out. I'm gonna start with a veterinarian. Veterinarians, doctors, they go to school. They go to medical school. They take every class that they possibly can to become very good at what they do. But never once do they take a business class that covers the financial, the technology, the legal, the HR, the operations, the branding, marketing, and sales. So they open up their veterinary clinic and they hang their shingle expecting dogs and cats and small animals to come through, but they have no idea how to operate the actual business. So then they hire somebody to manage that business for them, but it's their responsibility to manage the financials and make sure that the operation is developing the way they want to develop. So this particular doctor, we're going to call him Dr. Rick, he was working for a veterinary clinic and he had every intention of buying this veterinary clinic when the owner decided to sell. And the owner decided to sell without talking to him to a corporate veterinarian, to a corporate entity. He did not want to work for a corporate entity. He wanted to practice medicine the way that he wanted to practice medicine. So in working with me, my job is, how do you want to practice medicine? Simple, novel concept. And he was able to articulate that. And he was able to develop his team around how he wanted to operate his business. He started out with an SBA 504 and a 7A loan, and he had a lease agreement in hand. And then he found out the retail shop wouldn't allow another veterinarian in that same retail space. So what we don't know as business owners is that when you change the address location, you have to start the whole lending process back over again. So he found a place to lease. He leased it for 4 years before he ended up building his own building. Now he has 4 think he just added his 5th veterinarian and 7 or 8 techs that are working in his shop. So from someone who has no business acumen to someone who has the opportunity to lead his organization the way that he wants to lead it, and he has employees that are bought into helping him do it.
Amazing. So you're coming in and working with really driven and inspired business owners who maybe have a vision and a passion for what they love, but they lack the business acumen and understanding of those smaller details of, hey, even if you're changing your address, you need to start a new loan again. So you can come in and you can shorten those time frames, maybe give them some shortcuts to get to their destination a little faster. 5,800 clients in over the last about 25 years. I'm sure there's listeners here sitting thinking, man, I wish I could even have 1,000 clients, like 5,800. That's truly astounding. What is your process for acquiring clients in such a successful way?
Meeting them where they are and asking them who they are. So many times we look at what the business is, but we look past who the individual is. You mentioned during my introduction, when people hire me and expect me to fix their businesses or to solve problems and find solutions, you're going to win or you're going to lose. But when you meet the person where they are, I believe that you win every single time. So how have I worked with 5,800 clients? And real simply, if there are 12 months in a year, and I've worked with 20 clients a month for the past 24 years. That's where I get to 5,760 clients. I've worked with a whole heck of a lot more than that. But more importantly, if any of those clients were to come forward and say hello to me at an event, I remember them. I remember their stories. I remember the conversations that we had. Many times I remember things about what they've said about their family or whether they have children. I wouldn't wish this gift upon anyone, but I remember people that I interact with, and they leave an impression on me. And I think that ties back to just how I show up for people. I'm there to listen, and I'm not just there to listen to respond. My goal is really to listen to learn. And once I learn what they want to do, I'm in a better place to collaborate and help them get there, and then ultimately help them develop that process so the first time that they go through it, they're going to be able to do that again and again. I hired a business consultant 24 years ago. He was amazing. I spent $500 a month for 4.5 years. And after investing $27,000, I had a ton of knowledge up here, but I had nothing to show for it. There wasn't anything tangible. In 30 days, I'd take clients through what my consultant took me through in 4.5 years. And they not only have all of the knowledge that I was able to gather, but they have a business plan that I call a strategic business and communications plan that they can share with strategic partners to help them grow their business the way they want to.
Mark, you're a wealth of knowledge and information, and condensing that into 30 days working with a client, of course, you can help them generate some incredible results, right? But there's certain challenges with, meeting a business owner where they're at. I think that a lot of people don't really know, or there are a lot of unknowns, let's say. They don't know what they're missing. So could you share maybe something even practical with the audience? What specific strategies might you prioritize to attract clients who are aligned with your holistic approach, who might not necessarily recognize those unknowns right now? And what do you think are some of the biggest challenges in building a prospecting funnel like that?
I give a lot of what I do away for free. And, I think so many people hold everything so close to their vest that they're afraid to teach people things that will actually help them for fear that those people will go do it on their own. I have a quote in my office, and I've had it in my office since 2004, that says the biggest fear that a manager has is to train their staff so well that they fear they will leave. My biggest fear as a manager is to not train my staff and have them stay. And here's what I've learned in working with all of the clients. I could teach them all of the bells and whistles. I can teach them where the widgets are that are going to get them from where they are today to where they want to go. Here's the reality. They still won't do it because they don't know how to prioritize their time. It takes so long to search the databases. I can go into a database and multiple databases, pull the information out about their competitors in less than 5 minutes. But I'll tell you what, back in 1999, when I had access to that first database, I had no idea what the heck I was doing. I just thought it was cool. So I give everything away, and my idea is if I can exceed the expectations on what the value that I provide to a client is, even on the first interaction, that client is going to know what my value proposition is. And when they're looking for someone like me, they know how to get a hold of me and get on my calendar or get into a workshop. So, long answered question, but at the end of the day, education is the best way for me to market the services as well as the depth, breadth, and details that I can cover.
Amazing. So you're giving away information and education for free, and you're showing so much value that you are luring people in almost. I'm sure they're asking themselves, wow, if Mark's giving away this for free, like what am I going to get if I actually pay this guy, right? Mark, tell us a little bit about your vision for ConnectionMark. What are you working on internally? What comes next?
Yeah, well, I have to grow my team, especially right now today. There are a lot of business owners out there that are struggling, a lot of business owners that don't know where to go. What am I working on? My fractional CFO, and I have a lot of fractional strategic partners on my team that I refer and do business with. Every single one of them, including my clients, after they've gone through the process, tell me that I'm not charging enough. I have my financial projections in front of me, and I know that I can live off of those financial projections. I want to help more people, not less people. So there are consultants with my credentials that are charging 3, 4, 5 times what I'm charging. My goal is let's help get people out of their own way and empower them so that they have a choice. I never want to hold a client back by not giving them anything that I've helped them develop. So my approach is let me give it all to you. And when you're done with me, that's great. That means that you've outgrown me. Who can I introduce you to keep this mentorship and this opportunity for your growth and development going? And it truly is that pay it forward approach. So I am looking for other consultants that I can refer business to.
Wow, wow. So you're looking at expanding your reach and your impact, not by increasing the price point so you can get paid more, right? But by working through a network of relationships and more. I mean, I imagine this has brought you a lot of success, even just with referrals and growing your business a little more organically.
Absolutely. The best compliment that anyone can ever receive is the referral of their friends and family. The most disappointing aspect when you do refer people to someone else and they let you down, it feels awful as the person who referred you to that person. So I want to make sure that the processes and procedures are consistent. I want to make sure that I'm managing expectations and at the end of the day, really uncovering what people want and what they're looking for so that I can help them find solutions to problems that they don't even know exist yet.
So, Mark, you lead with an education value first approach to draw in the right people based off of what you can help them with and, your unique positioning. You've been able to establish a lot of great relationships and, of course, generate some really great referrals as well. But a lot of coaches and consultants who might feel like they do the same thing, right? Create a lot of content, share a lot of value, share success stories, lean into referrals. A lot of them struggle with growth in today's market, right? There's an incredible amount of saturation and noise with competitors and, maybe a lot of people seemingly doing similar things. I mean, even from a successful business owner such as yourself with over 5,800 clients, are these challenges that you witness in today's market as well?
Absolutely. And quite honestly, David, it's something that I also struggle with, right? It's the balance between putting myself out there and putting my face out there as the organization or putting the organization out there without my face. So it's the chicken and the egg. What I see from some of the consultant coaching and mentor clients that I have that are growing their own businesses, they think that it's them that people are hiring. It's the concept that they are bringing to the table that people are hiring. So, if I'm out there pounding my chest and saying, hey, call me, my name's Mark Bittle, I know I can help, that has a different approach to, hey, show up to this thing, let me teach you how to do this. And oh, by the way, you're going to learn the good, the bad, and the ugly. And I'm going to tell you that I've been divorced, bankrupt, had a house that was short sold, failed miserably, after being wildly successful. Every mistake that I've made in my entire life, I don't hide from. I embrace it and I share that story because many times clients can relate to the story as opposed to the actual concept that I'm trying to still with them. So I did that same approach teaching mortgage compliance. It was, here's what the law says. Now let me tell you a story. I broke the law without even knowing it. If you're giving directions to your mortgage company by utilizing a religious building as a landmark of where to turn, you've just broken the Fair Housing Act of 1968. And you are not in compliance and you are actually acting in a discriminatory manner. And it's being that direct. But people hear, my gosh, you admit the fact that you were breaking the law? Yes, because I'm no longer doing it, because now I know.
Well, Mark, I think that's really, I'm sure, calming and comforting for a lot of coaches and consultants listening to this episode, knowing that even someone who's had such great success, still faces similar challenges to other people. But it's despite those challenges that you continue to push forwards and continue on your journey to share value, share education, and really just combat against those forces. And you've really made a great mark for yourself with ConnectionMark, of course. Now, you're not, doing this alone, so to speak. Of course, you have a team behind you, but with the volume of content, education, and everything else you're doing, you're starting to use AI to support you in this as well. So for an established business owner with great processes and intimate understanding of the workings of a business and what needs to be done, where does AI start to come into play for you?
It was terrifying. I remember the first time when someone showed me how you could go and have this created. Let me be clear. I help business owners create a strategic business and communications plan. I also tell my clients, you can go create this without even hiring me. Here's the problem. Are you learning how to build it, or are you implementing a solution that you have no idea how it was developed? So it's the foundational skills will always be foundational. And when I work with clients, if I can develop the person to find out what they know, what they don't know, and what would be nice to know, now it's my job to show them where they can find the resources. But if we're inputting what they want to do into, let's say, Notebook LM, or we're using Claude as a recording to get the transcripts, to create a folder within Notebook LM, it's important that clients know that they need to be paying for Notebook LM. Otherwise, we're sending all of that great content out into the interwebs for anyone to use. So we're also incorporating cybersecurity into this process. Now you can develop something in Notebook LM, take that to another platform, Gamma AI, and you can create meaningful marketing materials and you can manipulate it the way that you want it to manipulate, but it's only pulling from your content. So people say, how are you using AI? And I prefer to say, I utilize it because I can still do everything by utilizing the abacus, but it helps me streamline and write a business plan instead of 4 to 6 hours. I can now draft a business plan over 8 to 10 hours meeting with the client. And in 30 minutes, I can have a pretty good strategic business and communications plan, but it still takes me 50 plus minutes to read it to make sure that it speaks to what the client wants to do, not pulling in information from outside sources that we don't want.
So you have to know that the information you're receiving from an AI or from somewhere else is actually valid and useful and is going to solve your problem, right? Which is really the value of working with a coach or consultant such as yourself. Information is one thing, knowledge is one thing, but it's how are you going to use that information and knowledge, and where is the execution that is the most important. So, Mark, you take a very human approach, right? You focus on the person behind the business, a very authentic approach to consulting and helping businesses from within. From your perspective, how can business owners perhaps leverage AI to become more productive and efficient without losing authenticity and the human connection that are central to building relationships and, fostering trust within a business?
I love this question. How can business owners utilize AI in a way that accomplishes what they want to do? The first thing is to communicate and learn what you want to do. As a consultant, and I think consultants, coaches, and mentorships are as different as the sky is to the ground. Consultants are there to be hired to come in and do a project. Coaches are there to help develop leadership skills and hold you accountable. Mentorships are there to listen to whatever the heck it is that you want to talk about. And so many of us are segmented into one of these. When I show up for a client, I can show up as a mentor, I can show up as a coach, and I can show up as a consultant. But it's finding out what they want to do and then implementing or helping them implement those solutions into how they want to get it done, but by staying true to themselves. Because at the end of the day, AI is not authentic. AI does not have emotions. We have to keep ourselves at the forefront of that, because without you and I having this conversation, AI can't recreate this conversation. It can enhance this conversation.
With these things said, and, with this frame of mind, what advice would you give to business owners who are starting to feel overwhelmed by the sheer volume of AI tools and trends and shiny objects? And, how could they or should they perhaps strategically evaluate and start to integrate AI and any technology in a way that really aligns with their unique purpose and values?
I think the rule of thumb for anything that you are going to start adding to your business is to start small. I see online, take the 28-day AI challenge, and every day we're going to teach you a different AI platform. That's great, but there are more than 28 platforms out there. So start small. Find one platform that you want to learn and then act fast, and not as fast as AI, but recognize opportunities, realize that you have a choice as to whether or not you want to pursue those opportunities. And 3, start putting those ideas into action. But it's the 3 Ds of getting stuff done: do it, delete it, or delegate it. And if you can break every task down into one of those 3 Ds, I think you're well on your way. But AI is not going anywhere. AI is going to continue to evolve, and we as individuals need to continue to evolve along with it.
Couldn't agree more. Mark, your insights into authenticity, holistic business interactions, and strategic adaptation are very powerful. To conclude, based on your philosophy that, we're our biggest problem and your mission to help individuals find what they do best, what's the single most important piece of advice that you'd offer to our audience who are perhaps striving to develop themselves and their businesses for sustained success and impact?
Learn from every failure and embrace failure. Failure to me has been first attempt in learning, or fail forward. And it ties back to that growing up in athletics and really reaching a very high level of becoming an athlete. If it's worth doing, it's definitely worth doing to the best of your ability. So what are you doing to enhance who you are, how you do it, and how you show up for others? But more importantly, why are you doing it? Because that is what people are going to purchase.
Fantastic. And yes, Mark, I see eye to eye with you there. We either win or we learn. And as long as we're learning, we're always winning.
I love it. Yes.
Mark, thanks again for joining us on the Growth Shift today. For any of our audience who might like to connect with you online to learn more about what you're doing with ConnectionMark, what would be the best way to reach out?
Best way to reach out is go to ConnectionMark.com. Fill out the survey. I have a free assessment on my website, and this is a complimentary assessment that people can go through. Yes, I created it, and yes, it took me 40 minutes to complete my own assessment. Not everything happens immediately. Some things worth doing take more time. So ConnectionMark.com, pick up the phone and call me. I'd love to get to know you.
Thanks again for joining us on the Growth Shift.
Thanks, David.
And that's a wrap on another episode of the Growth Shift. If this conversation sparked something for you, whether it's a new perspective on failure, a strategy you want to try, or just the reminder that every setback can become a setup for something bigger, hit that subscribe button and share this with someone who needs to hear it. Remember, the leaders who thrive aren't the ones who avoid change. They're the ones who shift strategically through it. If you're ready to build the systems that help you grow without the chaos, head over to valentix.io. We help businesses like yours scale smarter, not harder. I'm David Zylstra, and I'll see you in the next shift.